Welcome, Hudson Valley. This is Conor Walsh, host of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. This week on In Touch, we speak with Jeff Feldman and Andrew Moroney from Special Stars Soccer Program in LaGrange. The goal of Special Stars in the LaGrange Soccer Club is to afford all children the opportunity to learn the game of soccer, to interact with other children, to make new friends, and to enjoy the spirit of competition. We invite you to join us and listen to a previously recorded conversation between Jeff, Drew, and myself here on In Touch. I'm so proud to announce that In Touch has received another 2 Excellence in Broadcasting Awards from the New York State Broadcasting Association for 2024. In Touch received the award for Outstanding Public Affairs Program or Series for the second year in a row. Not just that, but In Touch also received the award for Outstanding Editorial/Commentary. This recognition would not be possible without all of our phenomenal guests that we learn from and grow with every single week, and of course, you, the listener. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just found us, thank you for taking part in the conversation and staying in touch with what's going on in the Hudson Valley. Because of the awesome success of In Touch over the last year, we are expanding. We're launching a new spin-off series under the In Touch umbrella called Townsquare Spotlight. These spotlights focus on amazing celebrities and leaders passing through the Hudson Valley who are making an impact in pop culture. You can check out our latest spotlights wherever you listen to In Touch. Hello, Hudson Valley. You're listening to another episode of In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We got a great episode for you guys today. This one kind of takes me back to my roots. I remember I was playing soccer as early as 5 years old. I loved the game. Always so much fun. Playing FIFA with my dad was one of the greatest things that we could do together. Honestly, every once in a while we still do. And I played all through high school, and I love soccer being used as a wonderful tool to help children here in the Hudson Valley. We got a bit of a different episode for you guys today. Returning guest, we have Jeff Feldman. He is the past president of the LaGrange Soccer Club. And with us virtually, we have Andrew Moroney, coach of Special Stars. They're here to talk about Special Stars, a part of the LaGrange Soccer Club. Jeff, Drew, how are you guys?
Doing good. Thanks for having us.
Real good. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. So as I was saying off the mic, Jeff here, you are a veteran of In Touch. We've had you on several times. Drew, this is your first time. So I just want to introduce you real quick. Before we get into the meat and potatoes of Special Stars, could you give us a background on you and a little background on your time with soccer?
Yeah, sure. So again, thanks for having me. My oldest son, Callan Moroney, is 17 now, and he's the reason that I started getting involved with the program here in LaGrange. I took over as the director 11 years ago. I love it. And I too, just like you, Conor, I've been involved in soccer my whole life, and Callan's kind of taken the torch from here for me.
Oh, that's awesome. I'm really happy to hear.
One thing about Coach Drew, he was recognized by Eastern New York Youth Soccer Association as the Coach of the Year for his contribution to the youth in our community for coaching the Special Stars.
Wow, that's incredible. Drew, what do you got to say about that? That is a huge honor.
Yeah, it was nice, but again, it's fun, man. We love coming out and supporting these kids each and every week.
You can tell how modest he is.
I know the humility there is like bashful, all that. See, but that's the kind of spirit. I love that.
The trophy sits in my daughter's room, so.
In your daughter's room, she's claimed it.
Yeah, but yeah, it's listen. I get a lot of support from not only the helpers, the parents, my assistant coach, and so the program doesn't happen without their support. So amazing.
And now, Jeff, we've had you on for your law firm, of course. We've had you on for Hudson Valley Hospice. But this is a different side of you that we're seeing. This is the soccer side. You've been a part of the LaGrange Soccer Club for a while. And if you wouldn't mind giving us a little background on where you stand with soccer, where does that love come from?
It comes from my kids playing soccer, and they all played in the LaGrange Soccer Club. And back in the mid-'90s, before Stringham Park, which is LaGrange's home field, was even developed, I was asked to be on the soccer board, and a year or so after being on the soccer board, I became the president. When the Stringham Park was developed, we had 2 fields that were the brand new fields in the Hudson Valley, and we were hosting a coaching clinic for the coaches in the Hudson Valley. And the person who was running the clinic was an MLS coach.
Oh, wow.
And in order for him, his name was Thomas Rongen, in order for him to run the clinic, he needed players who came from different travel teams. And then Mr. Rongen was teaching the coaches in the Hudson Valley how to run coaching sessions.
Wow.
One of the players from one of the various teams had a sibling who had special needs and was off to the side, just standing there watching. And I remember the young boy had quad canes. And so being relatively new to soccer, I asked somebody who was standing next to me who had been involved in organized soccer for a long time and was on one of the boards, whether or not there was a place for that child to play. And he looked at me and said, what are you, nuts? I went back to our board, asked whether or not they were in favor of doing this, and then spoke to the physicians at Children's Medical Group to ask whether or not there was anything that special needed to be done and whether this was a good idea, bad idea, what their feedback was. And then at the time, there were a couple of phys ed instructors at the Arlington High School who had some degree of training in Special Olympics. And so I got them to be involved, and our special needs program was born.
Wow, that's incredible. So how many years are you looking at now with that?
The first year was either in 1998 or 1999.
God bless.
Drew's our first parent coach. Before Drew, each of the prior coaches were phys ed instructors who had some degree of training in working with children with special needs.
Oh, that's amazing. I'm really happy to hear kind of the lineage and legacy here. And Drew, as you mentioned, as Jeff mentioned, you are a parent coach, and that's awesome. That's the way that my dad was. He coached our team, and it was awesome to be able to have that experience with my dad. I know that it was a really great way for us to bond and everything. So I hope that you have that with your kid as well. Now, speaking of Special Stars today and the 11 years that you've been with it, what does that look like? When you're on the field, you're with the kids, you're working, what does that look like?
We have a lot of support, right? We pair our kids up. So I have 23 kids that are registered. Typically 15 will show up or so each week on Saturday mornings. And we ensure that they have a good support system, right? So we'll set them up with a LaGrange soccer team, travel team. The Marist men's team helps out every year. And each week we'll go ahead and pair these kids up with a helper. So with somebody from Marist or with somebody from a travel team. And the kids love it. They look forward to looking up to somebody and then being supported throughout the 90-minute practice.
That's really cool. I love the whole idea of having role models there. I know for sure growing up, when we were able to pair up with somebody from the high schools or colleges or whoever it might be, I thought that was really, really neat. So one of the biggest things about Special Stars, of course, is helping children with special needs, whether it's developmental or other disabilities. What are the age ranges that you're looking at when it comes to the kids here?
Jeff and I were just talking about that today. So our program ranges from anywhere from really 6, 7 years old all the way up to 21.
Impressive.
It's a wide range of different disabilities and needs. And so it's interesting to see. Anything to add, Jeff, as far as kind of the age range?
Yeah. So, first of all, as far as the range of issues that some of these children have, it can be anything from having some physical impairment. Mm-hmm. They can be somewhere on the autism spectrum, or they can have a learning disability because soccer is, the rules of soccer require that 8-year-olds play with 8-year-olds. And it's referred to as playing on age. Mm. So if the child has some issue so that they, an 8-year-old would be better off playing with 6-year-olds because even though they're 8 years old, for some reason or another, they lack the maturity or, learning issues, they should be playing younger. This is the program for them. And then the other issue, which is also really important that we want to get out, is this is not restricted to people who live in LaGrange. Anyone, anywhere within the listening area that wants to participate or has a child that wants to participate can participate. The age range of 5 to 21 is where we are now, but what Drew and I have been talking about is to create another program, which we had in the past, and we, ultimately went by the wayside for a variety of reasons. And that is to have a program so that those kids who have been in the program for years and years, when they get to 21 and they age out, okay, we want to create the program for the young adults or the adults so that they can continue. We had that several years ago, and ultimately, for a variety of reasons, we lost through attrition the number of players, and there weren't enough. But Drew and I have been talking about resurrecting that.
Oh, that would be amazing. I think there's definitely the need and the place for it. And just to simply have the area and the time to be able to house something like that, it's kind of like with Field of Dreams. Build it and they will come. It's just simply having that available.
And they are doing it at our soccer complex at the same time their siblings are playing on adjoining fields.
Oh, there you
So,
go.
the complex is filled with a couple of hundred kids that are playing soccer at the same time. So they are included in what's going on and what their siblings are doing. And I think that's important too.
Absolutely, that's important. And one thing that you mentioned, the fact that it is not restricted to those who are living in LaGrange. I remember growing up, it was very specific. You had to be in this town in order to play at this place. Oh, but my friend's over in this town and I want to be with them. Well, that's not going to happen. You live in this town. So I love the fact that it's open to anybody around the Hudson Valley. I think that is so important. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with Jeff Feldman and Drew Moroney from Special Stars. It is an amazing soccer program that happens in LaGrange. It's open to anybody in the Hudson Valley, and it's helping children with special needs. So, Jeff and Drew, I'm going to get to you in a second. I got a really good one for you. But, Jeff, when it came to creating this program and what it is now, you were asking, are there certain things that we have to put in place to make this happen? When the kids are out on the field, is there something that really makes this look different than a regular soccer practice, or does this just feel like soccer games and practice?
This is soccer practice. It's not any different than anything else. And Drew explained the mentoring program where the kids from travel teams or the Arlington High School or Marist College come and they work one-on-one or one-on-two, depending upon how many kids show up. But otherwise, if you as a bystander just happen to walk by the field, it's just a soccer practice. The only thing that's different about this than other parts of our program is that the parent or a guardian, somebody has to be there. They can't drop the kid off and leave. They have to stay there. But unless this changed, Drew, and correct me if I'm wrong, the mentors are the ones on the field with them, not the parents or their guardians.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And just to add to that, Conor, I think it's important to note, it looks like a soccer practice, but I think the one thing that I try to instill in the kids and the parents is the fact that, it's about learning from other kids. It's about meeting other children. Listen, these kids all have different levels of special needs. And so, I may have kids that need a walker. I have other children that maybe are on the spectrum and could play JV soccer at their local high school. There's a number of differences. But the important thing to note for the program and any parents listening today is the fact that it's about just meeting other kids, becoming comfortable around people in general. And we're going to teach you a little soccer, right? The other thing that I wanted to note, Conor, I think you touched on this earlier, while the kids, my kids, the Special Stars, learn from the helpers, learn from all the teams that help us on a weekly basis, I think it's important to note that the helpers learn just as much, right? So especially these younger travel teams that come support us on a weekly basis, 13, 14, 15-year-old kids that maybe aren't around similar kids like my son Callan all the time. They learn a good lesson from just how to be around children with special needs and how to be respectful, a number of things. I think they learn just as much as the Special Stars do. So.
And what happens sometimes is that a travel team will be designated as helping out, say, the first week in September, and then one of those travel players who only had to be there that 1 week, they come back for weeks on end afterwards. The number of letters that I've written for some of these players when they're applying for college or for jobs about their volunteerism in the special needs program speaks volumes about how the community supports this.
Wow, that is really cool. And I think that's great. I remember when I was growing up, I was a camp counselor for years. I did it for over 10 years. And one of the things that was an issue for me in the beginning was when we were thrown into camps with children with special needs. And the problem was we weren't trained or didn't know at 14, 15 years old how to be the best person, role model, companion, and helper in those times. So having the exposure and learning alongside people, I think that is so important from an early age because, yeah, you may not be exposed to it. You may not, and it really opens up your perspective. So I think that's great. Now, Drew, here's the kicker for you. As a father, as a coach, as a soccer player, why soccer? Why is it such a great medium for the kids?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think just because I've been so involved in soccer my whole life, and Callan took a liking to it, I got involved in that regard. But again, it's a team mentality. It's a sport that requires participation and getting to know your teammates. I think there's a lot that goes into it. But for me personally, Conor, I think I was a little biased in that I love soccer my whole life. And Callan loves it too.
That's awesome. And as like a father-son activity, what's that like?
It's great. It's great. He loves it. I'd have to say he probably likes pairing up with one of the helpers more than playing soccer with me in the backyard. Again, kids get so excited to see, an older kid from Marist show up and hold their hand for the whole practice. It's very impactful. So
that really is a neat opportunity. Now, Jeff, as you said, your kids as well, they did soccer. So you've been surrounded by this. I would love your opinion on the same question. Why soccer?
I think one of the advantages of soccer, whether you have a child with special needs or not, okay, is that like if you compare soccer to baseball, and nothing wrong with baseball, huge fan of baseball, don't want to get letters from people who are baseball fans, but there's a lot of standing around.
Yes.
Okay. Whereas with soccer, it's constant motion. So the kids are never bored. And so it doesn't really matter if you're dealing with a 5 or 6 year old child who doesn't have special needs or a 5 or 6 year old child who does have special needs. As long as you keep them busy and you keep them moving and active, they're enjoying it.
That was one of the things that I loved about soccer was the fact that, yeah, you are moving. I did play baseball as well. I flip-flopped and, was not moving nearly as much. I also played lacrosse. That was a whole other animal too.
Right.
But that one really gets you moving. But, yeah, no, that's the wonderful thing about soccer. It gets you going. You have the feet-eye coordination. Can't use your hands unless you're the goalie. But I think that's great. And then just learning the teamwork with everybody, those who are on your team, those are the mentors. I think that is great. I really, really love this program, and I can see so many great things happening with it, and hopefully just keep building and building and building, which we'll get to in just one second. Again, you're listening to In Touch, Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley's award-winning public affairs and issues program. We're speaking with Jeff Feldman and Andrew Moroney with Special Stars out of LaGrange. They have this amazing youth soccer program for those with special needs. It is amazing, and we want to see this grow. So either one of you, whoever wants to hop on this question, how does one get signed up for this?
First of all, any parent who has any questions and any concerns about whether or not this program is or isn't for their child or any special requirements or anything, they can just call me in the office, 845-897-5199, or they can email me any questions, Jeff at F like Frank, K like Kite, C like Collins, S like Sam .law, FKCS.law. But if they go to the LaGrange Soccer website, under programs, there's a drop-down menu, and one of the programs is the Special Stars program, and the registration instructions are right there. But again, if there's any questions or the registration doesn't work or for some reason the link doesn't work, they can just call me in the office, 845-897-5199, and I can help them through it.
Terrific. And of course, all links and information will be in the description of this episode. We'd like to keep it nice and easy for you guys. No need to go hunting for it. Guys, again, thank you so much for being here on this episode. Now, with closing out, I remember when I started soccer. I started really young. I started when I was 5. And I remember being scared. You know, here I am on the radio today. I can talk to whoever and do whatever. But when I was 5, I was terrified. So what do you guys say to the child, regardless of the age, regardless of ability? What do you say to that child who is maybe a little apprehensive to go outside of their comfort zone and try something new? Drew, would you like to start?
Sure. I mean, listen, we see it every year, especially with the newer kids. They're reluctant to come onto the field for whatever reason. My son Callan was like that when he started a number of years ago, and that's okay, right? Again, it's not just about learning soccer. I think it's important that we work with these kids and have them feel comfortable in the environment they're in, just because it's going to, it's not only going to be a good thing for them on Saturday mornings at Stringham Park. Throughout their lifetime, they're gonna need to be in difficult situations like that, especially based on the fact that they have special needs. So yes, I think a couple things go into that. I try to work with them personally. And then again, back to the helpers. I think that's huge. I have one kid that I'm thinking about now. She loves working with girls. So I always have to pair up this particular player with a helper that's a female. That becomes difficult sometimes when we have travel boys teams helping that week. And so make sure that we support that one particular child. So a lot goes into it. And, we have a team of solid helpers each week. My parents are great. My kids help out sometimes. So a lot goes into it.
Sometimes you just have to give the child who's apprehensive space.
Yeah.
And it might mean, them coming to the session, not participating and just watching multiple times. And then all of a sudden they just walk on the field.
Yeah.
The other thing I would add to that question, Conor, the one question I get from parents every season is, hey, what do we need, right? Do we need shin guards? We need a soccer ball, some water. I said, whatever your child feels comfortable with, I want you to come to on Saturday with, whether that's with shin guards or without. It does get a little competitive sometimes when we scrimmage with certain kids, but I just make sure that they're in a safe environment. Because for example, my kid Callan, he will not wear shin guards. He just has sensory issues on that, and so that's okay. We're not going to warrant that these kids feel uncomfortable in a situation that they're not used to. So we try to make them feel as welcome as they can.
That's good to know. Absolutely, I think that's very important. Jeff, do you have anything more that you would like to add on to that question?
Not necessarily to that question, but just to add to something else about the program.
Yeah.
The program's geared for kids, and it's geared to help these children so that they can have an activity and they can do the same things that their siblings are doing. But there's a collateral advantage to this that wasn't anticipated in the beginning, but we'll take it. And that is that the siblings of the children with special needs get to be with other siblings of children with special needs, and they meet other people who have similar issues because they have a sibling with special needs. And the parents meet other parents, and the grandparents meet other parents, and the networking that has developed from this program, as well as the bowling program that we have in LaGrange and the Challenger baseball program that we have in LaGrange, it benefits not only the children who are participating in the program, but their family as well.
Wow, the support system that this builds must be incredible. You're right. It's something that's so organic and natural that comes out of this, but I wasn't even thinking that when we were talking, but it's so true. I love that.
It's phenomenal just to be able to see it and to be part of it. I've been involved in lots of things, and this is one of the most satisfying and pleasing things I've ever been involved in.
Oh, that's amazing. Kind of reminds me when I was growing up, some of the people that I was on the soccer team with, we went to completely different schools, but we'd be over at each other's houses on the weekends and carpooling and this and that. So just imagine the support that all these different families are having with this. I think that's great. And honestly, I think that does answer the question. I think that helps. There's the support right there. Jeff, Drew, thank you guys so much for being on this episode of In Touch. Again, we have all the links and information on how to join Special Stars in the description of this episode. I think it's great. Get ready for the fall season. Get out there, score some goals, run around. I think it's going to be a great time. Guys, thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And This has been this week's edition of In Touch, the award-winning public affairs and issues program that runs across Townsquare Media, the Hudson Valley radio stations. We want to give a big thank you to Jeff Feldman and Drew Moroney. For more information, please visit LaGrangeSoccer.org. Of course, all links and information can be found in the description of this episode. Whether you've been listening for a while or you just joined us, thank you. You can find In Touch episodes new and old on your favorite streaming services like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and more. That and listen on demand with your Townsquare radio station mobile app. Of course, you can still find all articles and audio under the In Touch tab on this radio station's app and website. And don't forget, we're also on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram at InTouch_HV. I've been your host, Conor Walsh. Until next time, stay curious, keep an open mind, and as always, I'm glad we get to spend some time.